Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah if you're new here, and we're going to talk about all the books I read in January. If you want an idea of my mental state, please go watch this vlog where I read Game Changer and Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed, trying the new gay hockey romance that's sweeping the nation. So if you want thoughts and feelings about those books, please go check out that vlog. I also reread 2 books this month, which I won't be talking about, but I finished a reread of The Lord of the Rings, and I also read Get a Life, Chloe Brown as a reread to help me fall asleep. I had 1 DNF this month, which I will talk about in a different DNF video. So that leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new to me books that I haven't yet talked to you about. So let's dive in. We're going to talk sci-fi first. So first up, we have Cold Eternity by S.A. Barnes. This is a sci-fi horror novel, and I liked it. I give it 4 stars. It was a pleasant surprise to me. This is about a failed political advisor who is on the run from a political scandal and ends up taking a job on a ship that is housing cryogenically frozen people, and who have been frozen for hundreds of years or over 100 years, and there's only 2 people on this ship, so she's very isolated. Of course, creepy stuff starts happening. I really enjoyed the sci-fi concepts in this book, actually. I thought they were really interesting, and there were some scary moments. I had a little upset tummy feeling several times throughout this book, which is all I'm really looking for when I read a horror novel, is to be kind of creeped out. I think this book does a good job of making things both scary for the character and the reader at the same time. Sometimes it's hard to convince me that the thing that the character is interacting with is truly scary, and so I think it's commendable when an author can pull off both scary for the character and the reader at the same time. I was really worried about this one because I hated the previous book by this author, and her debut I gave 5 stars. So it could have gone either way, and I did end up enjoying this one. 4 stars. Another sci-fi I read was A Sky Full of Elephants by Sibo Campbell. Yes, that's the correct author. This is a sci-fi dystopian magical realism book about a father-daughter relationship at its heart in a world where white people have all killed themselves. And this is about those are left behind, and this father-daughter relationship that they've never met before. She is mixed and watched her whole white family die. And she has a lot of internalized racism, and he was wrongfully imprisoned and is out in the world, and so it's about them traveling across the country together and reconnecting. I ultimately gave this book 4 stars. I really liked the writing, the themes. It was honestly really cathartic for me to see what this world was like. However, I do have a little bit of a criticism about it in that I don't like magical realism. So that's a me preference thing. And so when we started having some hints of magical realism, I was like, okay, you've kind of lost me. I like things more concrete and specific, but nothing against this book. But I also felt that the father-daughter relationship didn't have a satisfying conclusion, in my opinion. I felt a little like, oh, that was the ending? Shoot, I feel like we could have had a little bit more resolution of that relationship and that dynamic. But overall, I did really enjoy this book, and yeah, gave it 4 stars. Moving on to fantasy, we have Red City by Mary Lou. I have never read Mary Lou. She is historically a young adult fantasy writer, and this is her adult debut, I'm pretty sure. And I gave this 3.75. I also really enjoyed this one. Mostly, I enjoyed everything I read this month, despite the DNF. Red City is like an urban fantasy Romeo and Juliet if Juliet were a gang member. And so we've got two childhood friends on opposite sides of a gang war, and that has to do with like alchemy and magic in a secret society type of way. And I enjoyed this book, but I didn't love it, hence 3.75. This is another me thing. Like, I don't love urban fantasy. However, Greenbone Saga, up here behind me, is one of my favorite fantasy series ever. I had similar feelings about the first book in that series, Jade City, as I have about this Red City. Whereas there was a lot of built up, a lot of setup, but I'm kind of waiting to see how the rest of the series plays out before I give a final verdict on this first book. I think there was a good balance of action and intrigue. I liked Sam, who was our female protagonist. I thought she was very autistic coded. And the other character was fine. He was not my favorite, but he was all right. So I'm interested to see where this story goes in future installments. So yeah, I enjoyed it, but I hope that future installments will make me love this first installment even more, if that makes sense. Then we have An Echo of Things to Come by James Islington. This is the second book in the Lycanius? That's what it's called, the Lycanius trilogy. And this is a big chunky tome, and I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. I really enjoy this series. I gave the first book 4.5 stars, and I can't wait to read the conclusion. This is an epic, classic, chosen one, multi-POV type story where there's a threat from like a northern border and we have a magical wall that is deteriorating. So it has some traditional fantasy elements that I enjoy, but I also think that the balance of political intrigue and action and characters is really well done in this series. So I had a good time with it. A 5-star read for me is Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. I listened to this on audio and gave it 5 stars. And this is the third and final book in the first Law trilogy, and I loved this series. I thought each book got better. The second one might be my favorite, but second and third book are, you know, neck and neck for me. This is a dark fantasy series that's highly political. There is a threat from some northern barbarians, but there's also strife within the kingdom, multi-POV. All of the POV characters are morally gray, if not morally black. The best character is Glokta, who is a torturer, and he is a disabled man. I really liked this conclusion. I don't want to say too much, but I totally called it. Glokta's conclusion, this is all I'll say. Glokta's conclusion, I totally saw that coming from book 1. I'm just saying. Called it. And I enjoyed that conclusion. I thought this book actually had some great twists and turns that I wasn't expecting, and overall was just a really solid conclusion. And I just solidified that this is an author for me, and I will continue in this world. He has a series of 3 standalones in this world and then another trilogy. So I will be slowly but surely making my way through the rest of this world. And last and greatest, my favorite read of the month was Tyrant's Throne by Sebastian D. Cassell. This is a 5-star read. This is the 4th and final book in the Great Coats series, which is a 3 Musketeers inspired historical fantasy that is, again, action-packed, highly political, has great twists and turns, and I will say a little bit of a Gary Stu main character, but he's lovable nonetheless. I adored this quartet. I thought it was fabulous. I thought the pacing was excellent. Each book felt both independent, but it was building on previous installments, and this conclusion was phenomenal. I cried 4 times. Yeah, I cried 4 times. And ultimately, this is a spectacular series to me, and I can't wait to acquire copies of my own and add them to my favorite fantasy series shelves one day. If you have not read this series, I highly recommend it, and I'm intrigued to read other books by this author. Those were the books I read in January. What was your favorite read of January? I would love to know. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in another video of mine very soon. Bye.